Some paradoxes are just weird, but these four, they break reality itself. From a hotel that's full but never full, to why chasing happiness makes us miserable. These paradoxes will mess with your mind. What if movement is actually impossible? What if your friends are secretly more popular than you? And what if infinity doesn't work the way you think? Let's find out. Two sharp minds are here to break these paradoxes down, or maybe just make them worse.
I'm Mara, and I ask the questions that make reality fall apart.
And I'm Dr. Leo. I've studied paradoxes for years, and I promise, once you see how deep they go, you might question everything you thought was true.
The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the quiet village. Anna, with her auburn hair cascading down her shoulders, walked down the cobblestone path with a wistful expression. She clutched a letter tightly in her hands. Nearby, the sound of children playing filled the air, their laughter echoing against the old stone walls. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the towering oak trees, adding to the evening's peaceful atmosphere. Anna paused for a moment, taking in the simple beauty around her. As she continued her walk, she noticed an elderly man sitting on a bench, feeding the birds. His white beard and kind eyes shone under the soft light of a nearby street lamp. They exchanged a gentle nod and a small, knowing smile. The village clock tower chimed in the distance, marking the hour as Anna finally reached her destination. She stopped in front of a quaint little house with ivy creeping up its brick facade. Taking a deep breath, she prepared to knock on the door. Imagine a hotel that's completely full, but can still fit more guests. The Grand Hotel Paradox proves that infinity doesn't work the way we think.
There's a hotel with infinite rooms, and somehow every room is already full. No space left, right? But then a new guest shows up, and the hotel manager says, "No problem, we'll just shift everyone over one room, and boom, room one is free." How? If the hotel was full, where did this extra room come from? And if an infinite number of guests show up, he somehow makes space for all of them. That makes no sense. If infinity can always fit more, does full even mean anything anymore?
Welcome to the madness of infinity. This is Hilbert's Hotel, a thought experiment that shows how infinity doesn't follow the normal rules of numbers. When we say full, we think of a fixed limit, like a full elevator. But with infinity, full just means there's a one-to-one match between guests and rooms. The trick is, infinity isn't fixed. You can always rearrange it to fit more. So shifting everyone to the next room doesn't shrink the hotel. It stretches infinity. And if infinity can always expand, then maybe limits aren't as real as we think.
So you're saying infinity isn't a number, it's more like a concept? If we can always add more to infinity, does that mean nothing is ever truly full? And hold on, if space is infinite, does that mean the universe works like this? Are we just constantly stretching into new empty space? Or is there a limit somewhere that stops it from expanding forever?
Exactly. Mathematicians think about infinity as a size that never stops growing. That's why the universe can be expanding. Space itself might work like Hilbert's Hotel, always making room for more. But here's where it gets weird. Not all infinities are equal. Some infinities are bigger than others. The number of whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is infinite. But the number of real numbers, with decimals like 3, 1, 9, 4, 1, 15, is an even bigger infinity. If that's true, then what else in reality is way bigger than it looks? And what happens if we ever reach an edge of the universe? Does it loop back? Or do we just find more infinity?
Okay, so if the universe works like this, what about our own lives? If infinity can always expand, does that mean there's no real limit to knowledge, growth, or even time? Could time itself be infinite? Or are we all just stuck in one tiny section of the universe while infinity keeps going forever?
And that's the scary part. If infinity can always stretch, where does it end? Maybe it doesn't. But before we start questioning reality too much, let's break something even weirder. If movement is made up of infinite steps, does that mean we can't actually go anywhere? The dichotomy paradox is next, and trust me, it's even worse.
So, if infinity can always expand, does that mean nothing ever truly reaches a limit? But if you think that's bad, wait until you see why movement itself might be impossible. The dichotomy paradox is up next. You move every day without thinking about it. But what if I told you that mathematically, movement shouldn't even be possible?
All right, explain this one to me before my brain melts. Let's say I'm walking to my fridge. Before I get there, I have to go halfway first. Then I have to go half of what's left, then half again, and so on. But wait, if I always have a little bit left, does that mean I never actually reach the fridge? Like, according to math, I should be stuck in an infinite loop of tiny steps forever. So why am I still able to grab my snacks? Is math lying to me, or is reality broken?
Welcome to Zeno's dichotomy paradox, one of the oldest and most mind-breaking paradoxes in history. It's true. If you keep dividing a distance in half, you get an infinite number of steps. So logically, you should never finish moving because there's always more to go. But here's the twist. Infinity doesn't mean impossible. Even though there are infinite steps, each step gets smaller and smaller. When you add them up, they still equal a finite distance, which is why you eventually reach the fridge. But this raises a scarier question. If movement works like this, does time work the same way? Is every second made of infinite slices?
Wait, if space is infinitely divisible, does that mean time is too? If time is made of infinite moments, then does anything ever actually happen? Or are we just moving through frozen snapshots like a movie reel, and we just don't notice? And if time really is made of infinite slices, does that mean the present doesn't even exist?
That's where things get really weird. Some physicists actually believe time isn't continuous. It might be made of tiny, indivisible units called Planck time. If that's true, then reality isn't actually smooth. It's just a series of frozen frames moving so fast that we can't tell the difference. Kind of like stop-motion animation. But here's where the paradox gets worse. If time is made of frames, does that mean free will is just an illusion? If every moment is preset, are we just watching reality unfold like a movie, without any actual control?
Oh no, now I feel like a robot stuck in a simulation. If everything I do is just the next frame in reality, then am I actually choosing to do anything? Or am I just following some kind of pre-programmed timeline where every decision I think I'm making was actually made for me? And if motion and time are infinite, does that mean reality itself is just one big paradox?
That's the nightmare of Zeno's paradox. It shows us that even basic things like movement and time might not work the way we assume. But what about things that feel even more personal, like your social life? What if I told you your friends are more popular than you? And that's true for almost everyone. Welcome to the friendship paradox.
So, if movement and time are made of infinite pieces, does that mean reality is just an illusion? But if you think that's bad, wait until you hear why your friends are secretly more popular than you. The friendship paradox is next. Ever feel like everyone else has more friends than you? Well, mathematically, you might be right.
Okay, this one better not ruin my social life. You're telling me that, on average, my friends have more friends than I do. That doesn't even sound possible. I mean, sure, some of my friends are super social, but how can most people have fewer friends than their own friends? That would mean that almost everyone feels less popular than the people they know. So, is math just being mean, or is there actually something going on here?
Oh, don't worry. It's not just you. This is the friendship paradox, and it happens because of a weird numbers trick. Think about it. People with more friends are more likely to be in other people's social circles. That means you're more likely to be connected to someone who is more popular than you. The average person has fewer friends than their friends do, just because popular people appear more often in networks. But here's the scary part. This doesn't just happen with friendships. It happens with wealth, success, happiness, everything. The people you see the most are usually above average in some way, making you feel like you're falling behind, even when you're not.
So basically, social networks trick us into thinking we're less connected than we really are? That actually explains so much. No wonder social media makes people feel miserable. If the people I see online are mostly the most popular, most successful, or most exciting ones, then of course I'd feel like I'm missing out. But hold on, does this mean our entire perception of life is skewed? Like, are we all constantly comparing ourselves to a reality that doesn't actually exist?
Exactly. The friendship paradox is just one example of how our view of reality is shaped by what we see the most, rather than what's actually true. Social media amplifies this effect because you only see people's best moments, not their struggles. The same thing happens with money. Most people think they're poorer than average because they mostly hear about rich people. It even happens with intelligence. People assume everyone is smarter than them because they mostly interact with people who are experts in something. This paradox proves that our brains aren't designed to see reality accurately. We only see what's most visible. So, if everyone's friends seem more popular and everyone on social media looks like they're living their best life, then what's real?
Okay, this is actually kind of scary. If popularity, success, and even happiness are all illusions created by how we experience the world, then how much of what I believe about myself is actually true? Am I actually doing okay, but my brain just thinks I'm not because of how I compare myself to others? And if everyone feels like they're below average, then does that mean nobody actually feels average at all?
That's the real paradox. It shows that we don't experience the world as it really is, only as we perceive it. And if your friendships, social status, and success all feel smaller than they actually are, then what about happiness? What if the more you chase it, the harder it is to find? That's the hedonism paradox, and trust me, it might just change how you think about life itself.
So, if everyone thinks their friends are more popular than they are, does that mean nobody ever sees reality clearly? But if that messed with your head, wait until you hear why chasing happiness might actually make it disappear. The hedonism paradox is next. Happiness is supposed to be the goal, right? But what if chasing it actually makes it harder to find?
All right, this one feels personal. We all want to be happy, right? So logically, the more I focus on being happy, the happier I should be. But apparently, that's not how it works. You're telling me that the harder I try to feel happy, the less happy I become? That makes no sense. If I want a cookie, I go get a cookie. If I want to have fun, I go do something fun. So why does happiness play by different rules? And if chasing happiness actually pushes it away, then how do we even find it?
Welcome to the hedonism paradox, where happiness is the one thing that disappears the moment you try to grab it. Studies show that people who focus too much on trying to be happy often feel more stressed, more anxious, and less satisfied than those who don't think about it at all. It's like trying to fall asleep on command. The harder you try, the harder it gets. That's because happiness isn't something you catch. It's something that happens when you're focused on something else. But here's the real problem. If chasing happiness makes us miserable, then why does society tell us to go after it in the first place?
So wait, if focusing on happiness makes us less happy, then does that mean people who don't think about happiness actually end up happier? That's so backwards. We're constantly told to do what makes you happy. But now you're saying that actively trying to be happy is the problem. And hold on, what about people who chase money, success, or excitement? If this paradox is real, does that mean they're actually setting themselves up to feel empty? Because that would explain why rich celebrities always seem miserable.
Bingo! This is why people who chase temporary pleasures, like money, status, or thrills, often feel unfulfilled. It's called the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much happiness you get, you adapt to it, and suddenly it's not enough anymore. A new car? Exciting for a week. A dream job? Feels normal after a year. That's why people who constantly chase bigger highs end up feeling stuck in a loop, because the happiness never lasts. And here's the kicker. The happiest people aren't the ones who chase happiness, they're the ones who chase meaning. So maybe happiness isn't something you find, it's something that finds you.
Oh no, this explains so much. This is why people feel lost after they achieve their goals, because they expected happiness to last forever. But instead, it just fades. So what's the real answer? If pleasure isn't the secret to happiness, what is? And if focusing on being happy makes us miserable, does that mean we should stop thinking about happiness entirely?
That's the paradox. The more you chase happiness, the further it gets. But people who focus on purpose, relationships, and growth end up feeling happier without even trying. So maybe the key isn't asking, how can I be happy? It's asking, what's worth doing even if it's hard? But that brings up an even bigger paradox. How much of our success is actually in our control? That's a question for another time.
If paradoxes like this blow your mind, click on the next video. Because trust me, there's plenty more reality-breaking ideas waiting for you.